I talk about that because when me and Keandre was in school, our freshman year, and I think all the way up to our junior year, some kids, you know, they didn't want to be on Earth anymore, and they
Hmm.
did something about it. And when you walk by in campus and see and hear about that, it's like you think about what might have been going on in their head to the point where they felt like they had to do something like that, because they might have failed a test, failed a class, failed out of school, instead of talking to their parents or family, or coming to grips with that reality. So I just think it's very crazy, and it's definitely something like Lele said about you know really putting your mental health on a pedestal and really cherishing it, because life is short. I think that's like the revolving message that I've been sending through this podcast. Life is short, and you don't want to live life feeling down or stressed, and you don't want to make a decision like that where you can't take it back. Like it's done from there. So yeah, I definitely agree with her tweet.
Welcome back to another episode of You Feel Me? It's your boy Duffel, and today we have two special guests. The first one that I want to introduce is my lovely fiance, Andrea, and we also have Mr. Eddie Spears here, the third, because I see you got the three on there.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, y'all tell the people, hey.
Hey, people.
How you doing?
And we have the regular cast, everybody else.
Hey, it's Wall.
Key Will. Shout out to my youngin' T Will.
Taryn,
Who
what's
is T.
up?
Will?
My brother, bro.
Look, I know who he is, but the people don't know who T. Will is.
No,
But today is going to be a special episode, and the reason I got two special guests here today because I want to hear some of their thoughts and opinions on the topic is going to be mental health. We're going to talk about why mental health is important. Some advice possibly to the people out there of what we do to work on our mental health. We're going to get some Twitter responses to a question I posted on Twitter. And we're also going to discuss something that Eddie brought up in one of the comments of one of our other videos is podcast versus therapy, and we'll get more into that. But first thing I want to go into is just mental health importance, and we'll start with you, Eddie. Is mental health important to you?
I think yes. Just short answer, yes. Mental health is very important. I think anybody who is struggling with it should definitely seek any sort of help that is available, be it podcast or therapy. But yeah, I think it is very important.
And why do you think it's important though?
So I think it's important because just as I feel like on like the spectrum of just health in general, just as you keep your body healthy, it's so important to keep your mind healthy as well. You just gotta a lot of things that you may not know could be clouding your judgment. Maybe you're taking on too many responsibilities, and just as which if you were stretching yourself too thin physically, going from place to place, your mind is the same way. So I feel like with that in mind, you should keep your mind healthy.
I definitely agree. Andrea, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, your mental health is very important. It's kind of basically what keeps you going. If your mental health is bad, then of course you're gonna be having bad days. If your mental health is good, then you pretty much know how to control it, maybe handle it, and maybe get to the right path.
Well,
Yeah, I agree. I think you know mental health to everyone um might be one thing or the other. I guess for me, it's all about how you feel. Like, do you feel good? Are you happy? And it sounds so like simple, but um, I don't know. It's just like you live such a short life. It's important. Well, in my opinion, my perspective is life is so short. Like, why would you want to live life and be miserable at any point? Um, you should be happy all your life. And so having that perspective, yeah, I definitely think mental health is a key factor in life.
Keandre?
Yeah, it's super important. I mean, I think I told y'all. I know a lot of people who are like affected by, I guess, the more negative sides of mental health, and it it really fucks up your day in a way that I guess most people don't understand, and a lot of it is just conversations that aren't had, and just misconceptions about it. I'll say that I think it's starting to be realized and understood better.
Oh, I definitely agree, and I'm glad you're talking about the negative side because I definitely want us to dive into the negative side more than the positive because I feel like that's where a lot of people suffer. When you're good and everything's good, you don't really think about mental health. It's there, but you don't think about it. You don't think to check on yourself because you're fine and everything like that. But Jaron, what about you? What do you think?
Me personally, I mean, I think it's important, but I guess for me, it's more of a mind state. Personally, I think it's different for everybody, but me personally, I just think that like I don't really have very many issues or anything like that where I feel like I'll have like a down moment or anything like that. And plus, I mean, I don't really dwell on shit very often, like I said before. So I mean, very much. So like usually it's like something bad happens to me, or I have like a moment where I just need to like where I having like a down moment. It's at least like 5 minutes at max, just because I mean I'm a it is what it is type person. I truly believe that most time, I don't know. I've always said this: if you living right, then good things will happen. So don't worry about it type shit. I don't know, but yeah, that's how I feel.
I don't think of it like that as far as like if you're living right. But one thing I will say is like you talked about feeling bad and having bad days. You don't really do that. But one thing that I have learned is mental health is more than that. Mental health is anxiety. Mental health is basically it could be like how you eat, how you live. Like mental health affects you in a lot of ways that you don't even think about. And one thing that I wanted to discuss is I also think mental health is important, and I think learning about mental health is important. I feel like a lot of us in a younger generation don't know exactly what's something that we do or how we act or how we feel could be correlated with mental health. For instance, like I've talked about this before. When I was younger, I had horrible anxiety, but that's mental health. That's something mental in me that I just didn't know. Like I'm thinking, like for instance, in sports, like I'm thinking it's more than nervousness. I'm thinking like, oh man, I'm choking, I'm scared, but it's not that. I just have anxiety, just who I am. And I learned to better that throughout my life, even when I didn't know that it was anxiety. I didn't realize it was anxiety until I saw a Twitter post and they were talking about signs of anxiety. And I'm like, damn, I do all of these things. For instance, like thinking back on moments in your life and cringing about things that you went through, that's a sign of anxiety. Or like just dwelling on something over and over and just keep thinking about it. That's a sign of anxiety. Or, your eating habits, not eating a lot. That's a sign of, mental health, more so depression, but anxiety can play a role in that too. So I think, learning about mental health, and I wish I would have done more research for the podcast of where you can go to learn more about mental health. But I will say this is, look those things up. Even if you think your life everything is perfect, there'll be a day when it's not. So I think if you learn about mental health, think signs and symptoms of certain, disorders or everything else in mental health, I think you can better understand of what's going on with you mentally and, apply, those things to your life. Because one of the things I learned with dealing with my anxiety is things aren't as bad as they seem in the moment. I used to like get so upset when something didn't go well, but thinking like, it will get better, and in that specific situation might not, but I'll get through it. So, that's one thing about just learning about mental health and those things that I wanted to talk about. But before I had two people on Twitter, before we talk about that, I had two people on Twitter comment on my post about why mental health is important to them. So first I want to start with Velocity, and this is what he said. Mental health is important to me because someone could smile in your face for a year straight and act like nothing is wrong. In reality, everything is wrong. As men, we have expectations to live up to be a father, a provider, and the strong one. It's not easy to do those things. Nonetheless, all of them and do it with grace and everything goes smoothly. it's nearly impossible. Stuff will always happen that puts a halt on everything, and sometimes we just need to open up and put our pride to the side and just lay it out. It helps, believe me. So what I take from that, and I'll go first, is I feel like Overlocity has a lot of strain on him with what a man is supposed to be, and how a man is supposed to live his life. And most of us are men here. So Andrea here, she's a woman, but we talked about before. We talked about before, about opening up as men, and I think I feel like men have a harder time dealing with mental health because of those things, because we're looked at as weak if we admit weakness or something is wrong with us mentally, or we're depressed, we're sad, we're going through something, we have anxiety, like we're looked at as weak, and I feel like we shouldn't. I feel like if somebody is saying you're weak, especially when you're dealing with someone of a significant other, whether it could be male or female, as a man, if that person doesn't like who you are, maybe you are a more emotional person, maybe you are a person that wants to open up and talk about their feelings. If somebody has a problem with that, they're not for you. And that's what I think about that. But I want, y'all to go more into that. So I'm going to start with Keandre. What do you think about what Velocity said?
I agree with it. Like a lot of times it's the people that seem like the happiest that don't really that have the most problems with it. Like they can laugh, they can smile, they can do this and that, and it's just always in the back of their head. Like that's one thing I think people don't understand about mental health, is that they think you can be happy and be fine, but like you can be completely happy at one moment and then go sit down and these thoughts will come in your head, or something will just happen, or it's a mood change just really quickly. And I think, like you said, it's kind of like ignorance, because we're all like minorities, Black, Asian, and like we're all from, like, well, I don't know where Eddie's from, but we're all from a rural town, and that's just double of that. People don't understand it, people don't talk about it. If you're sad, then go outside. If you're having an issue, if you're just staying in your room in the dark all day, you need to go outside, you need to go play a sport, do something. Like, it's not really checked in on or like understood or why someone's feeling away. It's just like, go do something to like change what you're doing. And I feel like it's starting to improve with like younger generations. Like, I know like my sister's generation, like she has like a firm grasp on like an understanding of that, but like it takes a lot of time for older generations to understand that. You know what I mean?
I definitely agree. Jared?
Personally, I think that I think it's tough being a man in, I feel like, any generation, as far as like talking about your mental health and how you feeling about certain things, because I mean people do expect men to be like able to endure it and like like not really complain about it, take it on the chin and stuff like that. I think that, me personally though, like I don't really care about the whole man, gotta be this, that, and the third, because like I feel like I'm very open with how I feel about everything. Like sometimes I feel like maybe too open, but I feel like I've been like that my whole life. So I mean, personally, it's just like it's not a bad thing. It's not. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I feel like people get into this theory, which is a mental thing, of thinking too much about what the next person got to say about them, not realizing that it doesn't really matter. And I think that's a big thing. Like, stop caring about how other people view you or see you or any of that stuff. Even like your friends, if they feel some type of way about how you vent to them. I mean, find somebody that'll allow you to vent to them. I mean, life's too short to be stressed out all the time and be unhappy, to not be able to have nobody in your corner.
I
I
definitely
think that's
agree.
one thing that make it hard for me to empathize with some people, because like I know younger like high school students that really worry about what other people are saying about them and like to them, and
Mhm.
it fucks them up like mentally. But like I'll try to empathize with that and be like, I can't get it, like it doesn't matter what they think. Uh, I get what you're saying.
See, I have a very, I guess, I don't know, cause like I ain't gonna lie. When I see people vent on Twitter, sometimes I be like, bro, why you putting all your feelings on Twitter? Like, why you putting them all on the TL? Like, you putting everybody in your business and shit like that or whatever the fuck. But like, so I gotta tell myself, I mean, that may be their therapy. That may
Mm-hmm.
be their form of venting, getting it off their chest type shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very so a person who I feel like some people are very weak minded, right? But I also gotta think like what may be weak minded to them might be their way of, like I said, clearing up their mental health and making sure they're okay with themselves. I mean, that's how they vent. That's how they, you know what I'm saying, feel better. But, you know, so I think it's all about perception, I guess. As long, I mean, at the end of the day, don't worry about what I'm saying, anyone saying, the next man is saying. Do what's going to make you feel the best, in my opinion.
I agree. Eddie?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. It's something that, as I've gotten older, I've definitely empathized with that. Not worrying about other people what they think and stuff. I even go as far as say that's also something that I can agree with Keandre was saying, with how I didn't quite understand mental health as a kid because I didn't empathize with that aspect of what other people were going through. Like a friend of mine, he was dealing with like anxiety or he was going through like something with anxiety and depression. And all I could really do was just kind of sit there and listen to him, because I mean, any kind of advice I would give would be coming from a ignorant standpoint, because I can't really help with that. So all I could do is be like, you know, I'm here for you, so I can listen to what you're saying. And to the quote from Twitter, I remember, I don't know if y'all watched the Black Hokage on Twitter or YouTube, but I remember watching one of his videos and him going along the lines of men definitely have, I don't want to say have it worse, but men definitely have a mindset that they kind of just have to deal with, because the world, and I may be misquoting, but like the world doesn't care and something like that, because they expect men to just, like y'all was saying, to just deal with it and keep moving. And I don't quite agree nor disagree, but what he said was definitely accurate in how the society sees the world and mental health and men in general. So that's just kind of how I feel on these topics. So, thank you.
What you saying, that makes a lot of sense, because that's something similar to what I don't think like this no more, but I used to think like this, is like everybody got a sad story. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't nobody care about your sad story. So like what he said, like, you know, the world don't care. You know, the world gonna keep moving, gonna keep spinning, people gonna keep grinding, people gonna keep, you know, doing different things. But at the same time, kind of what we talked about with opening up.
Exactly.
You know, what the world cares about don't got nothing to do with what you care about.
Exactly.
If you care about yourself and your mental health and everything like that, and you want to express those feelings, you want to talk to somebody, you want to be, you know, sad one day, whatever, do that for yourself. At the end of the day, in my opinion, we're here to be happy for ourselves and be good people. Yeah. You know, and the first step to being a good people is you gotta be good to yourself. So, you know, take those mental health days or whatever you need to do to get right with yourself, because, you know, I don't think no more that, you know, everybody has a sad story. Your sad story matters. You're the main character in your story. So be that main character. Don't care what everybody else got going on. Be your main character and worry about you. Walt, what you think about what Overlocity said?
Yeah, so I got a lot of thoughts about what, you know, everyone said. A lot of different, like, perspectives on mental health and whatnot, but specifically to what Overlocity said, I definitely can empathize with it. Like, I understand his perspective. Um, I can't relate personally, just because my dad was handicapped, so he was never the man of the house in the sense of, you know, doing chores, like I don't know, manly things. So my mom was mostly doing everything. Like, she built the fence in the backyard. She did all the manual labor. So I'd never had that perspective. But obviously, like I think you said, Karen, that's like society's perspective on the man in life. And they have to be a certain way. And like super prideful, you know, take it to the chin type of thing. But like Jaron said, I just never, like I said, also, I didn't grow up that way. And also I never believed that way. Like, I do quote unquote, like, I don't know, I do chores around the house that most people will say the woman is supposed to do, like, you know, handling the laundry, doing the cleaning and stuff. Like, my girlfriend's always out, so I do everything. But it's not like I don't put things in that perspective. So luckily for me, I've never had to deal with um that mentality of, well, I guess I do deal with the mentality of being the man in terms of handling everything, like bills, when there's issues, like my girlfriend gets stranded in her car, I'm going to get her. Um, but I think it's kind of like someone mentioned it. Someone mentioned it earlier. I think it might have been you, Karen. But like, life is so short. And personally, I don't dwell on a lot of situations. Like if my girlfriend had a flat, earlier today, it's kind of like, there are worse things happening. So for me, I can't relate to it a whole lot, but I can definitely empathize. Um, Aaron said something earlier that I wanted to touch on, but I can't remember. Um,
I hate when
so
that
I'll just leave it
happens.
at that. Yeah, but yeah,
Well,
I definitely understand, and it sucks that a lot of people feel that way. But I think the main takeaway that I get when I hear stuff or read stuff like that is like, how do we break the status quo of you have to be this way because X, Y, and Z, or the world says so type of thing. I think we need to
Mm.
break away from that, and like I think Jaron said this actually. Life is so short. Why do you want to dwell on things and live up to a certain perception that you may or may not agree with, but it makes you feel bad? Like if it makes you feel bad, I feel like ultimately you should drop it. As far as living up to someone's standards, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
I definitely
Yeah.
agree. Um, so we talked about a lot about like how it is as a man, but I want to ask you two questions, Andrea. One is, as a woman, do you think you face similar, ideals in mental health wise? Well, I guess that affect your mental health. I guess the generic version of what a woman is supposed to be and do.
Um, I don't feel like it's not near as like a man, like the expectations for a man. For women, it's really a lot easier for us to open up and be very vocal about how we feel and about what's affecting us and what's going on at the time. Especially like with our moms personally and our other aunts and whatnot. Like it's easy to talk to someone who can like salvage with you. Like they know they understand like what you could be going through. Whereas to like with the men situation, like in my family and a few other people's family that I do know, if one of my cousins were down or someone was down that is a male, like the other men of the family is just like push it to the side. Like instead of seeing what's wrong and asking about their mental health, it's more like, get back to work. Like you don't need to be worrying about all of that, even though that could be something that's really big on them. So, like I said, like with females, it's a lot easier to open up, and I feel like that's something that I mean, maybe for not me personally, but that's something that made me want to have people open up to me like that, make me give the reaching hand, like the arms out, like come talk to me if you need to, or I'll go to you if I feel like you really needed to talk about that when you don't feel like you should confront it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a great answer. And the second thing I want to ask you, as a person, well, I mean, I guess you kind of answered it with like your cousins because you don't think like as a man they should make other men should make other men feel that way. So you kind of answered it. So that was kind of like my second question is like from a woman's standpoint, what do you think? Is seeing other men do that to each other. But moving on to X_Lele's question, she said mental health is important to me because knowing where you can grow and what you are responsible for, as in your mind, body, and soul, is really the key to a peaceful and happy life. Being aware and responsible of your own mental health is how you can achieve that, in my opinion. I feel like that was very well said, and kind of, what we've been talking about this whole time is like, being responsible for you, what you got going on. You know what I'm saying? And I think the biggest thing is no, only allowing yourself to think about things you can control. If you can't control it, there's no point to dwell on it, in my opinion. Now, I know that's easier said than done,
Yeah.
but I feel like, I think if you take a second and if you need to out of each day to think, like, can I control this? Can I control what happened to me today? Yes or no? And if you can, you do those things to make it better, or you form a situation into how you want it. But if you can't control it, at least try to let it go. At least try to let those things go because I was the same way in the past. Like I didn't let things go that I couldn't control, but now it's just like my thing to say it is what it is. So
Yeah, it's crazy because like I remember when we like discussed talking about this. immediately I thought back to school because, at least for me, mental health, that topic comes up mostly with school. As you know, I'm sure 90% of Asians can relate. Like, your parents will put a lot of pressure on you to do well in school, and it's always lawyer, engineer, or doctor, and so, um, I remember being in school and I would study a lot, and test day, you're going to this auditorium at eight in the morning, and there's three questions, and you know you can't figure out you don't finish a single question, and that's like you're the first time you do that is very like stressful, and you go through a
Mm-hmm.
lot in engineering school to the point where some people it either hardens you or you can't make it through. Thankfully for me, at this point in my life, I don't really feel stressed a whole lot anymore. Like, I can usually just let things go or just deal with it. But remember when I first started, like, I was struggling so hard. I was confused all the time. Other people were getting it, and I just couldn't. And I was really nervous. There were countless times I thought I was going to fail out of school. And for me, I was just very upset. I think one of my first years, I almost cried over grades, thinking about failing. Um, and I talk about that because when me and Keandre was in school, our freshman year, and I think all the way up to our junior year, some kids, you know, they didn't want to be on Earth anymore, and they did something about it. And when you walk by in campus and see and hear about that, it's like you think about what might have been going on in their head to the point where they felt like they had to do something like that, because they might have failed a test, failed a class, failed out of school, instead of talking to their parents or family, or coming to grips with that reality. So I just think it's very crazy, and it's definitely something like Lele said about you know really putting your mental health on a pedestal and really cherishing it, because life is short. I think that's like the revolving message that I've been sending through this podcast. Life is short, and you don't want to live life feeling down or stressed, and you don't want to make a decision like that where you can't take it back. Like, it's done from there. So yeah, I definitely agree with her tweet.
You kind of touched on something that I wanted to go into next. I was going to ask y'all, would y'all mind sharing a experience where you felt like mental health really played a part in that moment? And you kind of touched on it while with school, but two questions I want to follow up with is one, what advice would you give to a person that went through that same situation? And two, how did you handle it then? And if it was different, if you could go back, how would you handle it now?
Me personally, so
It's a good ass question.
with the first question, um, about what was the first question again? Sorry, I forgot.
You shared the experience. So the first question was, I guess the first question and kind of the last question are the same. But what would you give advice to yourself if you could go back or do it differently about the situation? Like, how would you handle that situation? Keeping your mental health in mind.
To be honest, I think I handled it pretty well. Like, at first, it's a new experience, so it's kind of stressful. Um, but especially like the first test, like, I bombed it, feeling down on myself, blah blah blah, and thinking I'm gonna fail. But it's like, for me, in any situation in life, whether it's regarding mental health, whether it's I'm angry at a game, arguing with my girlfriend, failed a test, failing out of school, it's like I can be stressed in that moment, but sleep is honestly, to me, well, I guess it depends. It can be too much. But for me personally, going to sleep and just like not reacting in the moment, because I'm very emotional and very sensitive. So like if I'm mad, like I might say something like super rude and be super mean, and because I can't control it in the moment. But if I take a step away and just sleep on it, usually the next day I'm like, I have more clarity over the situation. And so it was basically like kind of like that, not as clean, like stressed throughout the day. Like I'd be like, damn man, I can't believe I did so bad, blah blah blah. But eventually, like, there's like 5 tests a year for a class, and practice. You get used to it, and come like my junior year, I walk in and um, I used to always tell myself I felt like Steph Curry, and I was just gonna go get a bucket, and whether I did or not, cause it was when Steph Curry was popping. I don't know, and so I would do whether I did well in the test or not. It was kind of like, you know what, fuck it, like I'll get them next time, and luckily for me, everything always worked out. But yeah, I guess
Oh fuck! I'm so
in
sleepy.
hindsight, I would always just tell myself to um not react in the moment, not dwell on it too much, just kind of sleep on it. For me, knowing myself, thankfully, I know that sleep for me was like the key to my
Mm.
success in mental health.
Okay. Well, okay. So next,
That's very
very
interesting.
interesting.
Go get a bucket. That
But
shit funny.
Eddie, to you, would you mind sharing us a moment where you really think mental health played a part in that situation? And then the follow up question would be, how did you handle it then, and how would you handle it now with more knowledge on mental health?
I guess if I had to say it, I don't think I ever, and I could be ignorant in my own memory, but whatever. I don't think I've actually dealt with any kind of serious mental health issues. And I say that because, like, I hope not like stepping on these stones, but like a lot of people claim that they deal with depression and anxiety, when in my eyes, I just feel like you just had a bad day.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, like there are times when I was younger and like dealing with family and stuff, where like they would just that I get angry because of whatever was going on. And so what I would do in the moment was, and it's funny looking back at it now, but like what I would do in the moment is I would go to the bathroom and I would like talk myself through it, because you could lock the door in the bathroom. And I didn't want to be interrupted, but like I would go to the bathroom and pretty much just like talk to myself and counsel myself through what happened. And like I would go like I'd be like, man, I should have said this, or man, I should have I should have did it. But like talking through it and doing stuff like that is kind of what calmed me down, and how I got through those little episodes of just being mad at whatever nonsense I was mad at that time. And then likewise to what Wa said, I actually would just go to sleep. Most of the time I would just sleep it off, and the next day I realized that whatever happened was ultimately a silly and had no real reason to be mad at. Like maybe I was in the wrong, maybe my brother or sister was in the wrong, but in actuality, none of it really mattered, because it was just a sibling spat. Advice to myself, because I think I talked about how I handled it, but advice to myself would be to, I guess, probably talk to my parents about it a lot more, because I know my dad and my mom, they were always willing to talk to us about whatever. It's just that because of who I was, I would just rather talk to myself about it, because I felt like, well, nobody knows it better than I do. So I would just kind of talk to myself about it, and that would kind of help me. And even now, a lot of like smaller stuff that I will experience going through grad school, and now that I'm out of grad school and jobless, I kind of like just kind of talk to myself and be my own counselor as I go through these situations. So I would just say, just to advice to be just to confide in somebody close. And in that situation, my parents would have been the ones to talk to.
I think that's interesting.
Definitely can agree with that.
That you refer to your parents, because that's something I do want to touch on, is how parenting hurt or help people's mental health. And I'll go more into that later, but I'm glad you said that. Andrea, you, I know one of your key things is test anxiety. So I want you to talk about that, and I want you to talk about what advice you still give to yourself. You still being in nursing school, and what do you do to work on your test anxiety? Because I know a lot of people have test anxiety.
Personally, I'm still struggling with it. That's just a hard topic for me, because I don't know. It's just anxiety in general. Like, I even have anxiety when you shoot to me for questions right now. But, like, just, I try to breathe through it, and I try to, you know, with this, I already have my answers kind of correlated in my head, but, like, test anxiety-wise, I'm like a lot of people, I'm still working on it, to be honest, and there's nothing more that I can do. Like, I can put in all the study, and I can know what I have to do. I can know what I need. I can know the information. But once I get down to a test, it's kind of like shot. Like, it's gone. And, like, no matter how much I know. But what I try to do, I do try to breathe through it. I try to, you know, like, they give us a blank piece of paper. I try to write everything that I know down. Like, the test starts, and then I'm just, like, dumping everything I know on the paper. So, like, I'll, like, be more confident and, like, okay, so I do know what this is. Like, I did that on my test today. Like, I wrote everything I remember down, and I was just like, I got this. Like, I do know some stuff. I'm not crazy out here. I know something. So I just, you know, talk myself up a little bit, and just be a little more confident going in, even though I'm still, like, heart just 1,000 beats a minute, just like right now. But, you know, work through it.
That's funny that you mentioned that, and that's like how I started off. Like, we used to get what, I don't remember what they called it, but basically like cheat sheets. You write down all your formulas because there's so much math to remember. And I remember you know, at the beginning everyone tried to write everything down, blah blah blah, and slowly for us it turns into, like, you still get the same huge piece of paper, but it turns into like I everyone tried to fill every square inch out, and then slowly, like, junior senior year, it turns to just like I'm writing just regular, you know, 5-6 things on a piece of paper, just because I think everyone becomes so much more comfortable in their knowledge of the topic and whatnot. And the whole talking yourself up thing, like, I used to go to tests and be so stressed out and, like, you know, doubt myself. And then, like I said, my junior senior year, I started, you know, talking myself up like I'm Steph Curry, because I felt like every time I saw a question, like, I knew how to respond to it. And you understand that in these courses, it's not always about getting the right answer. It's about showing that you know the right steps to get towards that. Even if you mess up at the end, you get 90% of the points, because up until that point, you did everything right. Yeah, show your work.
See, and that's in engineering, and nursing is a complete opposite.
Yeah, for sure. But the concept to me is the same. In that at first, you know, everything's a new experience, and slowly but surely, as you do well and continue studying and learning, you feel a lot more comfortable in yourself. And I think it's all about I guess not stressing out and not trying to lose sleep over something once it's out of your control, I guess. I don't know. Like y'all said, it's different, but to me, the core concept remains the same.
Yeah. All right, Jaron, what about you?
Personally, I mean, I feel like, to me, I don't really have any moments like that where I ever dealt with any serious thing, and I feel like for a lot of people, like like Eddie was saying, when I be seeing these comments and posts and all that kind of shit, it's like, damn, you just had a bad day. Like, just had a bad day, bro. Like, walk it off. I mean, but that's bad to say, because, like I said, but I mean, that's just how I be feeling, because I be like, bro, it ain't even that serious. Like, it ain't even that bad. But I mean, that's how I live my life personally.
Not to cut you off.
You know what I'm saying? I'm curious.
But I want you to think about what I'm finna say. You know, you say mental health doesn't have to be over a span. Mental health can be how you handle the situation, how your mindset in that situation. And I've seen you, I know you, handle situations, to me, wrong. You blow up, you get too mad, and everything like that. So think about that in mind in those situations. Like, I feel like if you had more knowledge about mental health, or basically talk to yourself, you know, through those situations or whatever, you might handle them better. So that I said that, do you think that you didn't have some moments where, like, oh yeah, mental health could have played a part?
See, I see what you're saying, but to me, that, I mean, maybe because I don't know, but I wouldn't consider that mental health. To me, mental health is like, you know, like people who have like serious depression, or it's like those chemical things in their brain where they just, you know, they have to take medicine for it and all that shit. But I understand what you're saying as far as, like, I mean, to me, that's just getting mad, or, like, you know, not being able to control my anger or something like that in the moment. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but in that, I guess in that moment, I mean, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I feel kinda bad by saying that's my mental health versus how other people have to what other people have to deal with, you know. But personally, like like you said, as far as like getting mad and blowing up and shit like that, shit, arguing with my girlfriend, shit. I mean, hell, it's only a few people, like I said before, that can piss me off. You, my girlfriend, or my mama. That's the only people in the world that can just like make me where I'm just livid mad. You know what I mean? And how I deal with those moments most of the time is like, especially now, it's kind of like I'm just gonna example for my girlfriend. I always say this, like we've been together like 4 years, pretty much. So it's like, you know what I'm saying, are we gonna break up over this? Probably not. So it's just like, bro, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know, I mean, I really don't be caring. Like, I really don't be caring. Like, and she get mad about that shit because I be like so like you know, it is what it is type about shit like that. Like, you know what I'm saying, about certain things. And I guess more so for me, I guess dealing with that now and just understanding that, like, I guess at the end of the day, like me and you have this conversation all the time when we get into it with each other. Like, bro, you gonna stop fucking with me, bro? You my brother. You gonna stop fucking with me? Like, that, if you gonna stop fucking with me over this, then you know what I'm saying, maybe I should be a little more mad. But if you ain't, then I don't give a fuck. I don't care. So I guess this is how I deal with shit. It's just like, man, if it ain't that big of a deal to me, if it's not like life or death or like, you know what I'm saying, like, or it's like something that's gonna cause us to like not be with each other anymore, as far as relationship wise, then I'm not gonna really care. I'm not gonna really be mad. I'm not really gonna get upset. I'm not really gonna whatever. But as far as like arguments where like we just heated and we just having words back and forth, I mean, to me, I don't handle that shit well. You know what I'm saying? I don't handle that well. But I also don't stay mad about it for more than 5 minutes, regardless of the conversation most of the time. Unless it's just some foul ass shit that I felt like, motherfucker, what the fuck would you even be on some shit like that for? But I mean, it just, you know, that's not to me, like I said, that's more of a, like, you know, arguments or, you know, shit like that more so than mental health, you know?
Well, I would say,
just because I feel like other people have it way worse.
I agree. And I want to touch on two things. One thing, I think you should start looking at that, how you handle situations as a mental health, because your mind and how you handle that situation, you're thinking about it. So that has something to do with your mental. You know what I'm saying? And the second thing is, we as people got to stop feeling bad because our situation may not be as worse as somebody else's. If you feel some way about that situation, then you just do. At the end of the day.
Well, I'm hold on, let me cut you off when you say that. That's like, I understand what you're saying, but that's like me getting a scratch on my knee and then somebody getting shot in the knee. That's two different things. You know, I can feel bad about my little scratch, but to me, it's just like, bro, it's a scratch versus this motherfucker got shot. You know what I mean? It's just like, to me, it's on totally different scales. So, you know, I really just can't look at it as mental health. I mean, but that's me though. That's me. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, like motherfuckers be having a bad day. Sometimes I have bad days. Sometimes I just, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm just irritated for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Or I get irritated and I take it out on somebody. Like, to me, that's mental health. It is, but at the same time, it's not like as bad as other people. You know what I mean? But I was saying, yeah.
I agree. But at the end of the day, I think if that doesn't affect your mental health, then hey, it's fine to think that way. But if those small things do affect your mental health, don't feel bad about that.
I thought they don't.
I'm talking about for you specifically. Maybe they don't, but for some people it might. And for those people who it might affect, don't feel like, oh, people got it worse. They may have it worse, but that's not you. Your feelings, your situation is valid. What you go through is valid. You know what I'm saying? So care about that. Don't compare your life to nobody else's. I feel like as people, we do that too much, where we compare our lives to what other people got going on. What you got going on is what you got going on, and care about that. You know, worry about that. But Keandre, can you do you have anything to share?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like my shit is like a mix of Jaroan, Andrea's, and Eddie's. Cause like Andrea, I get anxiety, but in a different form. Like I have a crazy like fear of failure, but at the same time, I'm very like Jaroan, where like shit don't bother me for long. I know this shit isn't a big deal, but like so like it kind of clashes. Where like for me, like if I have to do something, I have to just do it. Like I can't be told I need to do it a certain day. I can't be told like I need to try to do this, or like what's a good example? So I got like crazy anxiety when I first switched my major to CS. But like I was already taking the classes and doing well in the classes. But when I had to go to the room to actually tell them that I was changing my major, it took me like weeks to do it because I knew I would have to do it at some point. And I kept thinking like, what if I fail at CS? Or what if I'm not good at this? You know what I mean? So like it's weird because like I know it's happening and I tell myself it's happening, and in my head I'm like, okay, I'm tripping, but like it continues to happen. So that's one thing I go through. But the way I kind of like remedied it is I have to just say fuck it and do something.
Yeah.
Like y'all, like I'm sure y'all have seen me throughout this whole time. Like I have to be constantly doing something. Like I move around. I'm either on games, I'm doing work, or like throughout my day. Like I have to follow like a very I wouldn't say strict, but like if I tell myself I'm gonna do something, I have to do it. Like when I say I do it, or I just won't get to it. So like, what was I gonna say? If I'm fucking up in one area, like say I tell myself I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow and I don't, then my whole day is pretty much gone. Like I'm not gonna do any of the shit that I said I was gonna do. So it's I think I got to the point where I know what I need to do to handle my shit, but it's always there, you know? Like Andrea said, you can prepare all you want for something, but when the test comes, you know, that shit's still gonna hit you, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm very conflicted with myself because of it. You know what I mean?
I think you know, my situation is very similar to with the anxiety. I felt like as far as mental health wise, I don't really go through sadness or depression, or I feel like I'm learning to handle myself and, you know, conflict, and, you know, learning with Andrea's help, you know, in our relationship is like, you know, not to argue but to debate, you know, talk shit out, you know what I'm saying? We might not agree, may disagree, whatever. You know, learning to do that. But I think as far as like my anxiety goes, you know, I used to have horrible anxiety. And one thing that helped me was, and I don't recommend this because some people may freeze, is I will put myself in those situations where anxiety. And like my mindset is kind of like walls. I'm going to ball out or I'm not, but I'm going to try. You feel me? So that's like, I would like hype myself up and get loud by the situation and put myself in those situations, like, you know, those anxiety-filled situations. And, you know, I feel like I'll go make some shake or I'm not, you know? So I feel like that's kind of what helped me, you know, facing my anxiety head on and telling myself, like, this not going to beat me. Like, I'm not, you know, scary. I'm not soft. I'm not weak. You know, none of that. Like, I'm going to handle this. Like, just getting whatever it was done. And to be honest, it came from, like, you know, back down school before you know, talking to girls, you know, situations like that, you know, that filled anxiety, you know, taking tests, you know, I had anxiety, sports and all of that. Like, you know, I had anxiety throughout. So, you know, even with Andrea, she know, like, when I asked her out the first time, like, I had, like, so much, like, you can feel it in your chest, you know? And I was like, I'm going to say all of this and don't say nothing. So I was like, I just started babbling. And I was like, last thing I was like, will you go out with me? And she just looked at me. And my heart dropped because I'm like, is that a no? And she was like, you told me not to say nothing. And I was like, okay, talk, you know? So, like, you know, just facts. Just put myself in those situations and, you know, basically forcing myself to, you know, go through those things really helped me out. And so also as well, you putting your just...
Like, I can't, like, I force myself to do shit because, like, Wall seen it, but I won't hype myself up for it. It's just fuck it, I'm doing it. Cause like Wall seen me like before a test, it would be like 10 p.m. or some shit, and like our test is like 6 a.m. or some shit, and I should be studying. I'll look at Wall and go, fuck it, I just gotta go in there tomorrow, and I stop studying, bro. I'm on games now, and then I go in and I don't have no anxiety, but that whole night was anxiety, or like fucking going out. Like I hate going out. And like my girlfriend has seen this shit where like we have to go do something and I'll be like anxious the whole day. But like that time comes and all right, fuck it, I'm going and just go do that shit. So I find it funny that you actually get to like hype yourself up about that shit. Cause I calm the fuck down and just do that shit and hate it right before I do it. But then like as soon as I'm in it, like it's a lot easier.
I just turn up, man. That's my thinking. I just, you know, turn myself up and go.
See, now that you said that, Keandre, I guess I kind of do have a moment. I guess I would consider mental health, even though it wasn't lasting long. When I was a sophomore, one night, it was after I got a grade back from a computer science test. It was it wasn't CS2. I forgot what, it was some computer science class. I had a grade back, it wasn't that good. I think it was fucking Ravi's class. Anyway, it was a bad grade, and I talked to myself, I was like, bruh, are you gonna better do this shit? Like, I'm literally talking to myself, like, are you gonna better fucking do this? Like, bro, you bullshitting. Like, You gotta come with it. Like, you on that bullshit. Like, bro, you ain't gonna make it out of this motherfucker doing shit like you doing now. And I guess I just talked to myself and I was like, yo, bro, either you gonna get it done or you not, bro. But you know what I'm saying? You gonna change your major, what you gonna do? And I was talking to myself like that. And like, I guess I kind of see I do have moments like that where I talk to myself too. But like, I never, I guess, saw it as mental health just because it's like, I would just be like Walt said, go get a bucket. Like, I literally same shit. Go get a bucket, man. Go get a bucket. Like, but it was dealing with that, with like fucking like it would be dealing with life shit though. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was baby bad at a video game, or like Karen said, talking to a girl. I remember I was trying to get the girl number my freshman year, and I walked past her probably like 1,000 times before I tried to get her number, or whatever. And I was like, bro, you can fucking go get a bucket, nigga. And I was talking to myself like that. I done it. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like certain things like that, I guess, yeah, I can see how that's a little bit of, you know what I'm saying, hyping yourself up and talking to yourself, because, you know what I'm saying, you do get, I guess, I would say, I never thought it was anxiety, more so nerves, I guess, in situations like that. But yeah, I could definitely agree with that shit. Talking to yourself.
Yeah, and I think,
and being like, fuck
telling
it.
yourself that, like, if you did prepare, you did prepare. Regardless of what you do, you prepared. Mm-hmm. You did to your best ability. Go in there with some confidence. Have some confidence. And like, you know, during tests, my thing was, I think about the tuning exams. You was in that test and you got it done by any means.
Oh,
so that's what every test, bro. Every test, that's what I thought. I was like, bro,
hey, this is the straight facts, bro. By any means. If you know, you know. You feel me? If you know, you know.
That shit funny.
If you know, you know. So
had my Gara eyeball, man. Don't count.
So
don't count, nigga.
I think we lost Wall. Oh, there he goes. He's back.
Y'all got to weebish.
But yeah, man.
Oh, he's back. But yeah, that was my situation, and you know how I handle it. And the last thing I want to talk about today is what Eddie brought upon. I feel like I have my answer, but well, I want to say I have my answer because I never went to therapy. But therapy versus podcast. Eddie, since you brought the topic up, I want you to kind of explain a little bit of what that is, what that means, and what your thoughts is on it.
So, in full disclosure, I heard it from someone else, but the way I think of therapy versus podcast is when you go to a podcast, you're kind of doing this. You're talking through different topics and whatnot with like-minded individuals or not like-minded individuals, so you can like bolster your understanding in what it is. And talking to other people just helps you kind of work through your issues. Like what a lot of us said, that we kind of will talk to ourselves, we'll hype ourselves up, and we'll kind of get through that issue that way. And I guess on the flip side of that, going to therapy, you would kind of talk to a professional that could kind of better help you get to the root of what your issue is, rather than as opposed to just talking to your homies and, you know, getting the advice of what everybody else kind of thinks on the topic. I guess if I had to give an opinion on the topic, I would say that therapy is important. It's just that for me personally, I've always thought about going to therapy, but I can't really afford therapy. I know that's the drawback for me. Like, therapy is expensive, and I feel like for a lot of people, therapy is expensive, and that's why they kind of push it out, because like, well, I could kind of just talk to the homies for free, or me and the homies could get on a call for free and we could just talk about it. And so that's kind of the drawback on why people would choose a podcast over therapy. And I mean, you get to the same conclusion in a sort, because you're talking about the issue at hand, and you're instead of keeping it inside, which is not the thing to do, instead of keeping it inside, you're still getting it out, whether it is to a professional or to a group of friends. But I do think that, in a sense, if you can afford it, therapy is the way to go. Let me caveat it like that, because it is something that most people may not be able to afford.
Okay. Andrea?
Between podcast versus therapy, I feel like regardless, like you said, you're talking to someone. I feel like a podcast is really good with a group of friends, because I mean, your friends do know you. They know kind of how you are. They can give input on your life, and you know, in ways that someone who didn't know you as well couldn't. But on the other side, I feel like therapy, you go to see a professional, they don't know anything about you. You can lay it all on the table without that judgmental vibe that could possibly be going on. You can say everything that you actually want to say versus, you know, the stuff you might hold back from your friends in the podcast or whatnot. And also, like Eddie said, therapy is expensive, and I mean, some people just can't afford it. So I mean, I feel like at that time you got to talk to who you got to talk to. As long as you're getting it out, I mean, I don't see an issue with it at all. I wouldn't even mind going to therapy.
I think that's definitely a good opinion, and they are professionals, so they can maybe digest what you're going through more than your friends can, because they know what they know, but therapists went to college for that thing. But Keandre, what you think?
I think you can have a mix of both. Honestly, I think everybody should go to therapy at least once because you might have some deep rooted issues you never even think about. Having that unbiased individual across the table from you, just sitting there writing shit in the journal. You know what I mean? You looking at her like, what the fuck she talking about? And she just is able to see with a clearer view of what issue you might have or what problem you may not know about. But also like the group thing. I mean, or the podcast thing. There's like a thing called group therapy where people just sit around and talk. That's similar to what we do in general.
That's smart.
That really helps out with a lot of people because like even if they're not able to share their issues or share like what's going on with them, they can hear other people talk about it and be like, oh shit, I go through that also. Like it's not just me, and they can see like they're not alone. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that can be a big help for a lot of people.
That's true, because you have the Alcoholic Anonymous,
Oh, yeah.
and Drug Anonymous, just a lot of different things where they have those groups. But Jaroan, what about you? What do you think?
Me personally, I don't know. I know. I don't know. I don't think I need therapy. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I would ever go nor care to. I feel like myself, like I feel like I realized a lot of stuff on my own. Like even if you was telling me I was doing something wrong, it would be hard for me to get there until I honestly see it. Even if you're a professional, you know what I mean. So I feel like for me, I'd rather talk about it with my friends because I mean, talking about a thought will more so help me. Even what y'all say, whatever, I probably won't care whether or not if it's going against what I say or not. So like it's just more of a getting it out in the air than getting to talk about it and think about it, I guess internally, and then I may come into my realization like, oh shit, maybe I was wrong. I mean, shit, a lot of the time that's what happened with me, where I feel like I'm dead right about a situation, or I've been living my life a certain kind of way, or dealing with things a certain kind of way, and then like I'll see something or hear something that's like, oh wow, like bro, this is actually could be different. This is probably better than how you did this or whatever like that. You know what I'm saying? Or hearing certain things. So yeah, I think to me the whole podcast group of friends thing is probably the way I would go, just because based on who I am type shit.
Okay, I respect it. Well,
Yeah, I personally think like at least well, I personally think whatever works for you, and that's so basic, but like that's basic, but for me, I guess I know how to make myself feel better in terms of talking. So for me, talking amongst us is good enough. I've never felt like I needed to go get a third party stranger. Um, I don't um anymore like you guys mentioned, when you're feeling down, putting it on Twitter, social media. I don't really feel like I need to do that anymore. It doesn't do anything for me anymore. So for me personally, it's really either or, unless you're having some like really deep issues that you can't figure out and like talking to your friends isn't helping, then it's like, you know, I don't think you should refrain from talking to a therapist. Like, you guys know my motto, like, life is too short to not do as much as you can to achieve happiness. So, like, if you can't figure out what your struggle is or why you're struggling, then definitely go get some professional help because professional help, like, they do this for a living. They try to make people feel better and improve quality of life for money. So they have incentive to help you out. So that's definitely where I stand on it.
facts. I think that was all great answers. And my stance on it is, I'm like a lot of y'all. Like I feel like what works best for you is what you should do. Because everybody doesn't have that support system. I'm blessed enough. I got y'all. I got other homeboys. I got my fiance to talk to things about, and I feel like I know a lot of my issues, you know, and I think a lot of people do too. Like they know their issues, they know what they can work on and what's going on with them, but they don't want to admit it to themselves. But you know, I'm not one of those people, so I feel like I can talk to y'all. But I do say just like I was talking to one of my cousins who they're getting married soon. They were talking about relationship counseling, and they were saying like you should at least go once. And I feel like maybe the same thing would be therapy. You should at least go once.
I would do that. I would definitely do that.
So I would say at least go once. I mean, you never know, depending on if you can afford it. Because like Eddie said, it is expensive, and I said a lot of people's dilemma. It is expensive, but you know, that's my take on it. And I want two things before we end off. I want Eddie and I want Andrea to hit me with the you feel me.
You feel me?
Yeah, there you go. Your turn.
Yeah.
Why you put me on the spot?
You on the spot.
You feel me?
I'll take it. But before we end off, I want to say this. I felt like you know, I did want to get into the whole parenting topic, so that will be a later episode for sure. Because I want to talk about how parents can affect their child's mental health. I think that is very important. Maybe I can get a parent on here. Because I know I got a lot to say about that, but this episode is getting kind of long, and I'm probably sure y'all have some things to say. Because I feel like out of everybody I'll talk to, Eddie, you're the only one that I can say has a positive experience with their parents dealing with mental health. And I'll save that for a later episode. So I think you're definitely going to be on it. Well, if you can, you'll definitely be invited to the episode. But I feel like I always, you know, leave us with something on the episode. So I want Keandre, leave us with something for the episode. Leave us something for the people.
Hey, check out your mental health. Talk to people. Figure out what you need to do. I ain't have nothing else really. I'm real with you.
Hey, straight like that. It is what it is. There you go. And we out.